Hey, what is going on, all my fellow godlies and Warframe enthusiasts around the world? I am Vance, and I had an epiphany while I was stepped away from Warframe. I still am stepped away from Warframe. I'm just trying to keep up to date with like the Banshee Prime stuff that came out, and even just recently, the new event that just finished. But for the most part, I've been playing Ghost Recon Wildlands, and I'm so addicted to that. And this is probably going to lead into me doing like an Exidium canon mini-series within it. And if you want to remain up to date on that, I'm going to push for you to join the Facebook fan page, as I always do, because that's where I update people on what I'm doing. But for the most part, there was kind of like an objective in-game Ghost Recon Wildlands that kind of stirred up an idea that could be implemented into Warframe. Now, hear me out. This is just my suggestion, so you could completely write it off if you wanted to. Nobody's gonna shun you for doing so. But just hear me out. So there's this convoy. It's a raid in Ghost Recon Wildlands, and usually it has armored units escorting it. You'll have a big truck, and it has supplies that you need to tag so that the rebel units can benefit from it. Well, it has like a armored convoy with mounted miniguns and armored helicopter with also mounted miniguns escorting it. And the fun factor in this little objective is just the variety of different ways you can tackle it. You can try to run it off-road with your vehicles, you can get ahead of it and lay down trip mines. I wish that I had like barbed wire tarp that you could lay down on the road and pop out the tires, but you could also sit in the ditch somewhere and pop out the tires and pick off all the tangos from a safe distance. That's always fun. I mean, what am I kidding? Who am I kidding? This game mode in itself, this whole game is fun. And I would completely disagree with all the people who are saying that Ghost Recon Wildlands is boring, because it's just not. If they view it that way, then obviously a slow-paced tactical shooter is not for them. But for anybody else who appreciates stuff like that and all the other Tom Clancy titles, you're gonna love this addition into the Ghost Recon franchise. But I digress. This convoy system kind of inspired me to have this idea for Warframe. So you may be wondering at this point in time, how does a slow-paced tactical shooter compare to a fast-paced frantic shooter? How can we borrow aspects of that and throw it over to Warframe? Well, take the concepts that we already have in Warframe, and a lot of these concepts are broken on their own. I've discussed before in previous videos how I don't think that objective-based gameplay is right for Warframe, since it's a fast-paced frantic shooter. And when I was talking about those objectives, I was talking about the raids. And for people who even enjoy the raids, I think even they could agree with me here that it gets very repetitive. You know, doing it day in and day out, it's just the same thing over and over again, and it's slow, and it relies on everybody else to do their thing, and it's just not very engaging. I mean, me personally, as a veteran surrounded by other veteran players, we can all agree that we're starting to get burnt out more and more and more. It used to be that within the first 2 years of Warframe, I had to take a break maybe like 3 times. Now, within the past year, I had to take a break like 6 different times. Otherwise, I'd get completely burnt out of the game and feel miserable when I'm playing it, up until like new stuff releases. So instead of releasing new Warframes and new weapons, I thought, why not introduce a new mission and have that mission incorporate all the different broken aspects of Warframe. Take for instance the raids, which I just mentioned, and also Archwing, which has been a dilemma since day one. Now take something that's relatively non-engaging, like a hijack mission. It's very simple and straightforward. Just escort this fucking tram to its extraction, escort this vehicle to its extraction. There's not a whole lot of ambition put into that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's different, and I appreciate them adding it into the game when they did, but on its own, it's not very engaging, it's not very fun. And I don't feel like Digital Extremes is worrying about the fun factor of Warframe anymore, so here we go. My official idea. Now that we're 5 minutes into the video and I still haven't talked about it. This is going to blow your mind. Hopefully it's going to blow your mind. maybe you'll disagree. I already know that there's going to be some people who are like, oh, you can't add that to the game because that's going to present a whole bunch of bugs and glitches. Well, by your logic, we should never get anything new, because every feature that they add to the game is going to add bugs and glitches. That's what happens when you have a game that updates as often as what Warframe does. So, I digress. Let's get back to the topic at hand. I think that there should be more options for 8 players to explore together. And how we're going to do that is we're going to implement Archwing into a hijack mission. We're going to have 4 players on or inside the vehicle that are trying to support it from the ground and get it from, the point that you pick it up to extraction. The other 4 players are going to be in the air with Archwing. They're going to be air support. Now, are you already following me? Is this already starting to excite you? Because I'm thinking about it, and I'm seeing these mental images of like 4 Archwings flying overhead doing bombing runs, helping out the ground units, and I just think that, how is this not in the game already? So I'm gonna try to maintain a focused mind here and not get too nostalgic and get like a nerd boner going on. But imagine just like going down the road with this hijack vehicle, and I think that the vehicle itself would need to be scaled up similar to like an elephant in Halo. And like, instead of it draining your shields to move forward, it's just constantly moving forward on its own. It's like kind of auto-pathing, similar to the part with the tram in the raid. Once you click the button to start the objective, it just goes. It just freaking goes. But I would think that the maps that these potential objectives are on, they would have to be much bigger. That way, you getting from point A to point B to point C to point D is going to take a long time, not only because the map is larger, but also because you'll have barricades set up in between each different relay rendezvous point, and it'll force the vehicle to stop. And it'll also force the Archwing players to go behind the barricades and like hack different terminals to open up the gate. That way, it becomes like a defense mission for all the people who are still in the vehicle. And when I mention all these different vehicles, take into consideration Digital Extremes implementing Corpus vehicles, Grineer vehicles. Hell, maybe we could even fight like a herd of Juggernaut behemoths. Can you imagine that? Like a herd of them, like 10 or 12 of them, come just barreling towards your vehicle, and you gotta prevent them from hitting it, or they're gonna do serious damage to the vehicle. So then you have Archwing guys like struggling to help the people on the ground, but they also have to deal with aerial threats trying to mow them down too. So it becomes really chaotic, and you're trying to solve just the smallest little objectives. I would not go crazy with the objective system here, because again, Warframe is a fast-paced, frantic game, and modes that you introduce to the game should be equally as fast-paced and frantic. So causing one player to have to hack multiple, like a relay of terminals to get the doors open, to progress through the gates and to the extraction, I think that that's the route to go. Now I've been pushing for a while for 8-player stuff. Even just recently with this new event, I thought to myself, wow, this could be really, really awesome if they, instead of just having point A, point B, and point C, they also had point D and E with 4 more additional players in the escort missions that we did for the event. I forget the name of it. Evacuation? Yeah, Evacuation. Just imagine 8 players in that, and 2 more additional points where you have to herd like all these stupid AI that have terrible auto paths. That would obviously need to be fixed completely, but just imagine that. Even that could be a welcomed addition to the game. I'm pushing for more 8-player content. Stuff that doesn't necessarily have to drop arcanes, although I would prefer it do that, because the raids that are in-game, they're so boring and miserable. They take so long to do. It slows down the fast-paced, frantic nature of Warframe, which just, in my opinion, botches everything that makes Warframe great. So I think that this is the next step. I think that vehicles is the next step in the Warframe evolution. If this game is going to last for like the next decade, I think that eventually you want to start pushing towards like free roam, open world combat, similar to Ghost Recon Wildlands. And this is the next step, implementing vehicles. Warframe's never had vehicles, never had friendly vehicles anyways. Imagine hopping into a vehicle and just mowing shit down. That'd be really cool. And I think that, like I said, I think that this is the next step in Warframe evolution. Implementing an 8-player thing where, you know, it's a hijack, 8-player hijack, and you have arc wings in there. You have, it's essentially a raid, but it's the only raid aspect of it is the convoy that you have to protect. And maybe you would have like 3 different vehicles that which you have to protect, so you could afford to lose 1 or 2, but if you lose the last one, then you get a mission failed. I don't know, it's up in the air. It's just an idea. Me throwing out this idea is something to build upon. Hopefully we can get this like stirred up as a hot topic within the community, and Digital Extremes could actually consider it, because let's face it, the core gameplay of Warframe is still fun. It's just there's so many things that are limited to how they engage us. So if you like this video, always helps if you give it a thumbs up, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff that I always encourage you to do. Until next time, this has been Vance signing off. Peace.